Fontenot.
Brandon Boone.
And Kiera Sandoval.
What up, y'all?
Hey, what's happening?
Live from Austin, Texas. I made it.
Special episode. We got Snack Attack down in Austin, Texas. First time in Texas.
What?
I made it after sitting on the runway for 3 hours in DCA. I made it. But I'm here, y'all, and I
What
had a good
airline
weekend.
was that?
It wasn't the airline fault.
Oh.
It was the weather's fault.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay.
You know, thunder and lightning, that will cause an airplane to sit on the runway for a little
True
while.
that.
Yeah.
Nah, you supposed to fly through that.
No.
I don't care what you
I
say.
like my life. I'm good. I'm not ready to pay my insurance out yet. No payouts yet. So we're okay.
Well, hopefully you pick the right credit card so you get your insurance back.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Man, this is a special episode. For today, it is my birthday.
Hey,
Happy
turn up,
birthday,
turn up.
Brian.
Turn up. I couldn't be with a better crew than Travel Squad.
Travel
Hey,
Squad.
squad up.
So for today's episode, we're going to do something a little bit differently. Today, we have a live studio audience who's going to answer different questions that people have in the travel community. So we're hoping that we'll be able to answer for you different things that you've always wanted to know about travel, but get it from different perspectives. Now, normally we've always done the question of the day or open discussion topic, but today we're going to focus specifically on their questions. So I'm going to turn it over to our question of the day. So first, question of the day.
Yeah, so my name is Steven.
What?
I'm actually really interested in learning a little bit about what things that you get to symbolize your trip when you get back, or anything that you acquire while there to represent that trip, whether it's something you hang up at home or what exactly it is that you get.
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think for me personally, one of the things I used to collect growing up as a child was coins. So my mother had friends that would always bring back currency from other countries. And that's what got me really inspired to travel, because I was able to look at the different currency and look at, wow, how do they design the dollar? Or how do they design this? And what is the currency transfer ratio? But then as I grew up, my grandmother and I started collecting spoons. And so we collect spoons from different states, but different countries. And that became my collector's item. Now I'm a little bit older, and I found alcohol. So
Wait a minute now.
Wait a minute. So my new thing to collect is now a combination of spoons and shot glasses. Now, I don't take the shots, but I had the shot glasses to memorize, hey, different places around the world that I do. And if I remember correctly, my little mentee, Steven, would collect flags from different countries. So
That's dope.
that's pretty cool. Like, whatever it takes to memorialize your experiences, I think that's really good. Another thing that I'm adding into my house is that I'm taking pictures from my DSLR camera in different countries to be able to signify different places I've been to, so that I can tell a story as you go through my house. So you'd be like, hey, I was in Dubai and this is why this picture is here. Or, hey, I was in New York and this is why this picture is here. So, I mean, for me, it's a collection between using shot glasses, some pictures that I've taken in different places, not like stock photography, but really things I can say, hey, this was my experience as you go through my house. What about y'all? Snack Attack, Brandon?
For me, other than the pictures, I take a bunch of pictures. Other than that, I collect magnets. So my refrigerator is full of different magnets. Most of them are all the places that I've been to. Sometimes when people travel, like Brian, I would tell them, hey, bring me back a magnet. And I put that like on the other side of the refrigerator. Then I have a section for all the places I have been to. And I just recently, so shout out to my sister. She just made a dope collage of all the pictures I've been taking and collecting. I printed them out for cheap, and she made a dope collage. And I just hung that up like this week. So that's something that I do. What about you, Kiera?
So what I normally do is I collect a magnet as well, and I have that on my refrigerator. And what I did was I kind of created like a flat map of the world. So I have all the magnets from the different countries that represents kind of like a map of the earth. So I have North America, I have South America, Europe, Africa, etc. So I have that on my refrigerator. But I also collect turtles. So I will find a turtle from every country. And if I can't find a turtle, like in Dubai, I had to buy a camel. I have turtles from various countries around the world. I have the turtles on a shelf everywhere. And I also collect stickers as well. So I like stickers. So I bought a couple cork boards, and I have stickers from the various countries that I've been to. And I just collect the stickers and tack those on the board as well. And I like to keep some type of money as well. So.
Right. Oh, yeah, I do that as well.
Yeah.
So why turtles, though? What made you pick that?
I went to Puerto Rico a long time for my 25th birthday, and I found the cutest turtle. It's a girly thing. I was like, oh, look at this turtle. He's so cute. His head spins. So then ever since then, I was just like, I need to find a turtle from every single country. So
Gotcha.
like, Japan, I have a dragon, and Dubai, I have a camel. So like some countries like that, I can't find a turtle, but most of the countries I can find a turtle. And I try to make sure the turtle has the name of the country or the city engraved in it somewhere.
Gotcha.
Thanks so much for the question, Steven. That was a good question. I might start taking turtles for my own trip.
Right.
No, you can't use turtle. Pick something else.
Actually, I'm in the travel squad, so I can do what I want.
Oh, excuse me.
No,
Whoa,
I'm
now.
just kidding.
It's
I
your,
won't do that.
it's your
snap
birthday.
attack.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
She let me be a little wild today.
Okay, yes.
It's your birthday.
Yes.
It's your birthday.
Hey.
It's your birthday.
Hey.
But now we're gonna get on to the next question for the show. So, from our live studio audience, what is the next thing that you want to know?
Hi, everyone. My name is Chelsea.
What up, Chels?
What's up? So, as a first-time traveler, I never know where to start or where to begin or where I want to go. So, if you're looking for, like, if you're figuring out where to go, how do you find those deals? The good deals.
Not the bad ones, right?
Not the bad ones. The ones that you can, like, good deals
The
and
good
on
ones.
sale or something.
So when you say deals, you mean the airline deals?
Airline, hotel, anything. Just something.
Okay. So what works for me generally is if I say I want to go somewhere. So name a country you want to go to or a city.
Bora Bora.
Okay. So what I usually do is I say out loudly, I say, I want to go to Bora Bora. Jesus, please give me a glitch to Bora Bora. And I'll just think about it all day. And I swear, like 3-4 days later, Bora Bora will come up. Or some city that will connect me to Bora Bora will come up. And it might not be the exact price point that I'm looking for, but it's something that will get me motivated. So you just kind of have to like speak on it and bring it to fruition, and it comes up. So, and if you can't speak on it, then you just have to like just research and research and research. Google Flights is your friend, Momondo is your friend, Kayak is your friend, and just research and research and research and just wait until it pops up. And then when you finally see it pop up, you got to act on it. You got to book the ticket.
Book that
So
ticket.
that's what I do.
What's our favorite words?
Book
Book
that
the
Book
ticket.
the ticket. Yeah.
So another way is joining the Driftr Travels community.
Yes.
What?
Just like that, we have a channel specifically purposed for flight deals, and it's nothing but flight deals from all these different blogs like flightdeals.com, Thrifty Traveler, Secret
Yes.
Flying,
Tweet-
all those
Twitter.
little blog websites. It's just flight deals. So people will just stay looking in those channels, and when something catches your eye, you just book it. And that's pretty much what I do. So I'm in Driftr community every day. I look at the flight deal channel every day, and I also follow, on Twitter, the same people who posting those in that channel, and then I just follow them and look for the deal. Basically, I wait for the deal to hit me, and then I send it to the travel squad and we book it.
Travel squad.
Just like that.
Just like that. I mean, for me, I think personally, I have a list of places that I want to go, and I keep that in mind. But as kind of Brandon's point, I look in the Driftr Travels community to figure out what are those places that I want to go. And so I'll add in, all right, so if I see a deal to, like, for instance, I want to go to Bali. If I see a deal, I'm just like, yo, that's the deal. Text the group. But most importantly, I have like a hit list of places I want to go. So just figuring out maybe what's those top 6 or 7 places you want to go, figuring out when the time is right. But also, I pay attention to the seasons that these different people usually travel in. So I see friends that go places. I'm like, all right, so when is the off season? So, for instance, if you want to go to Hong Kong, the best time to go is between May and August. You can get tickets almost $500 round trip coming out of Houston, Texas, which is close for me because I'm in Texas. But if you go, for instance, in like October, you're going to see the same tickets for $1,000. So I keep in mind, all right, what is the best time to travel? Have you ever noticed that in London, you always see different like flight deals when it comes to the fall? The reason why is because it's cold. Now, I don't mind a little bit of cold because I live in Texas, so I live in the heat most of the time. But that gives me a new kind of idea of like, all right, this is the off season to go. This is how I can find the best low cost. And for a lot of people in the Driftr Travels communities, we look for airfares. We look for the glitch fares, the $250 round trip to anywhere in the world, or the $300 round trip to go anywhere in the world. But I'm looking like, all right, when can I find the lowest possible deal that doesn't have to limit the places I can go to? But I also keep an open mind at the same time. The second piece that I look at is specifically when you go to one country, you can easily jump to another country. So if I fly into London, it's a lot cheaper to go from London to maybe India than it is from US to go to India. So keeping those two things in mind, that's how I plan out all my travel flights. Very good. Awesome. All right. Another question from the studio audience.
So on the deals note, how do you decide if you want to do an Airbnb versus hotel?
Oh yeah, we covered this a while back.
Man, bring it back. Bring it
Right.
back.
So I know me and Kiara is more team Airbnb.
Airbnb all day.
So we don't mind staying at Airbnb because we feel like it gives us a more authentic local experience that we like when we travel. We want to get like we are local, so we want that feeling when we travel. We feel like Airbnb delivers that over hotels. Brian, he's more
Team Hotel.
right.
Hotel snob.
Look, I like nice things, and I cannot lie. There's a song about that somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it PG-13, please.
PG-13. I like nice things, and I cannot lie. I like SPG Platinum status, and I cannot lie.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes. So for Airbnb, the reason why I started using Airbnb is because I went to Tokyo, and the hotels in Tokyo are like $300 a night. And I was going on a solo trip, and I was going for 7 days, so I didn't want to pay that amount of money. So a friend of mine was just like, well, just get an Airbnb. And I looked on Airbnb, and I found a lot of nice places that, that looked nice online. But then when I saw the prices, that made my decision for me. So it was like either pay $75 a night versus $300 a night. So I was like, I would rather take the adventure for the first time and pay $75 a night. So I had a friend of mine that uses Airbnb a lot show me what to look for on Airbnb. So when you use Airbnb, you want to look at the reviews. You want to read what people are saying. Is the location nice? Was the place clean? Were you able to communicate with the host, et cetera, et cetera? Did they have any issues? Did they fix the issues? But another thing you want to look at with Airbnb is also the location. So in Japan, they don't speak a lot of English in certain areas. So you want to make sure you're in an area where you can communicate with the locals, and also where you can get around. So are you near a train station, or can you use Uber? Can you get to the airport very quickly? So those are all important things. But I love Airbnb, like Brandon said, because you get more of a local experience. In an Airbnb, you get to go to the grocery store, you get to go to the cleaners, you get to go to the laundromat, you get to walk around up and down the street looking for certain things. With the hotel, you can call downstairs and can I get room service? Can I get my laundry done? Can I go to the pool? But when you're, in a city where, in an Airbnb, you're just wandering around the city trying to talk to locals. And that is a better experience for me.
I personally, thanks to the podcast and my team, have started enjoying Airbnbs, but I specifically pick hotels because there's certain amenities that I like. So I'll give you an example. I took a trip to Greece back in this April, and we took an Airbnb, but it was 45 minutes outside the city, and I felt like we were far away from other stuff. Now, there's certain things that I like when you get into a hotel. For instance, they sometimes have travel guides there. I upgrade rooms because I'm SPG Platinum, but most importantly, they have sometimes some people that can help you. When I went to Santiago, Chile, I took a solo trip back in April, and the bellman was one of the most helpful people that I ever met because he started talking to me about the city, the culture, things I need to know, where I can find the wine, where's the best places to go out at nighttime, but most importantly, where can I understand and get to know where the people is. And so part of the reason that I like Airbnb is because you get close to locals and such like that, but then sometimes we can make bad decisions on where we pick. I pick a lot of city centers when I pick up hotels, but most importantly, they tell me things that, because I ask questions in conversation that really help me to understand the country. So I personally like it because they have things like safes and other things that come to amenities. Also, as I've said in the podcast before, if I can sue you, I'm going to, because I like my protection, whereas Airbnb is personal owned, so I don't know who to sue. But they have certain quality standards that hotels have to follow. Now, when you go to different countries, it depends because each person's standard on food and those kind of things differ, but for the most part, they have a quality standard that I can relate to. Not to shun anything on Airbnbs because I definitely enjoyed the Airbnb. We went to Cuba. Travel squad.
Hey.
We had a good time, and it was one of my first experiences. When I went to Greece, I had a great experience. But I like picking things inside city centers so I can see the culture, the energy of the people. So that's my personal reason that I choose hotels.
Right.
Not to mention that Starwood has me handcuffed because I'm a platinum member, which means they're going to upgrade me to the suite, which means I get this big room. I'm like, yeah, boy.
So everybody not on your level yet. So I think it's a
Right.
preference thing, though.
I mean, you can get to my level. I'm just
I would definitely try Airbnb. And like I said, read the reviews, see what people are saying, and then you want to stay somewhere, a city center area, but you also want to stay somewhere near transportation, near an area where you'll be able to get around very well. So I definitely would try, but I would try in like a big city, a Tokyo. I would try somewhere maybe like in Bali or something like that. Cuba, I would definitely do Airbnb because the value, for what you're paying, you're gonna get a lot more value versus the hotels in Cuba. So I told Brian that immediately. So I would definitely try Airbnb and just see how you like it. And maybe some cities you have to do a hotel, maybe some cities you have to do Airbnb.
You have to play it very, very carefully because certain cities, you're right, you can't do Airbnb, or some cities you shouldn't do hotels. So make sure to do some research when you go to the certain country you're looking for, because you can find out a lot about what's going to protect you and make sure that you have a safe experience, because that's what we advocate more than anything.
Yes.
Great questions, by the way. Great questions. All right. We're going to take another one from our studio audience.
So if you're interested in going on a group trip with some friends, what are some best practices you've used in terms of planning and just executing and getting the trip organized?
I think I can speak on this because I planned a couple of trips myself recently. The Cuba trip that we took was a group trip. I sent it to Brian, then I posted it on Facebook, and then Brian sent it to like some of his friends that I might not have known. And pretty much, I think you just have a lead person that plans everything. But as far as with guys, I think it's easier for us because we are a lot more laid back and cool and chill. So we don't worry about like the issues and the drama. Everything I posted, they're like cool. I posted prices. Hey, when I need to send the money, where I need to send it, just like that. So I posted itinerary. They was cool with it. So I mean, for guys, I think it's a lot more easier. I don't know, Kiara have a different point of view on it.
Hold up, Snack Attack.
I roll.
I'm not. I heard.
So I would say first thing is when you go on a group trip, I would find people that you can travel with. So my personal opinion is go with people that you can probably take a domestic trip with. Go to Chicago, go to Vegas, go to Miami, go to Hawaii, something like that. And if you guys can go to those domestic cities and have a good time, then you know that you can go out of the country and have a good time as well.
Levels.
Yes, I highly, highly, highly recommend that. So I have a group of friends that I went to Carabana with. Shout out to my Carabana crew. And we all gone. They came to DC, then we went to South Carolina together, and we all had a very, very good time. We bonded very, very well. And we went to Carabana, and we had an explosive, great, great, great time. So I feel like we traveled together 2 times locally, like domestically, and then when we went on the international trip, it just made us bond a whole lot more. So I would try to go on a domestic trip first, and then when you find that you guys can mesh well together, in the States, then go out of the country. And then once you go out of the country, by that time, then you know that one person, like Brandon mentioned, that can plan everything, and you know who's going to pay, and you know who's going to have a good time, who's going to show up, and who's going to just follow the pack. So that'd be my suggestion.
Man, definitely to piggyback off of Brandon, it takes a lot for you to be able to be the organizer for a trip, because you have to plan for everybody's personalities, everybody's wants. So when I think about solo trips are really easy because you say, hey, these are 3 things, 5 things, 10 things, etc. that I want to do. But when you go on a group trip, you have to compromise. You have to decide, all right, what is the 1 or 2 things that I want to get out of this trip as comparison to everybody else? And it takes a lot of communication, and most importantly, strong communication skills to say, hey, if we don't do anything on the trip, here's the things that I care about the most. And then you have to look at the next person and say, well, what do you care about the most? And then you have to make an itinerary. Now, luckily, I traveled with Brandon to Miami last year. Guys' trip was amazing. We've doubled back with a trip to Cuba. Right. We're going to double back another trip for next year.
Oh, yeah.
But most importantly, it was picking the right people and personalities to make sure that we had a group trip. Mm-hmm. So you have to find people that can be flexible, that are people that can compromise, but most importantly, people that you can have fun with. Mm-hmm. And to Kiara's point, if you can travel domestically with somebody, you can find opportunities to find with them travel and internationally. Mm-hmm. I've done some trips with some people. I'm just like, never again.
Mm-mm.
Right.
Because the personalities just don't clash. It's not that they're bad people. It's that I don't exactly mesh with their opportunity and the way that they like to travel. And so there's different things. Like when I go out the country, I don't want to eat anything that I can find in America. If there's a McDonald's, I'm not trying to go there, because guess what? McDonald's is the same everywhere across the world, period. But if I can find people that share those same interests with me and the same viewpoint of looking at, hey, these are things I want to get when travel, that's how I know I'm going to travel. Now, I don't tell everybody my travel plans, because not everybody you can travel with. But it's good to try to experiment and travel and know, hey, these type of people I want to travel with, these people that I don't want to travel with. because it helps you get more perspective on the places that you can go and know who you can ask. But also, don't be afraid for a small trip. You don't need 10 people. We luckily had 10 people that agree with each other in Cuba, and we had a bomb time.
Right.
I think about it all the time. Steven over here in the studio, like laughing and stuff like that because he remember the memories.
Right.
But most importantly, it's making sure that you have a good time when you travel, but finding people that relate to the things that are most interesting to you.
Yes.
I think what worked out for Cuba is because, I mean, a lot of those people was my first time meeting them, but we just send it to our travel friends. So everybody not travel squad, but if you know who's down to travel, then you should pretty much know that you should have a good time. We also did a group trip to Seattle. You forgetting about Seattle?
Ah, I forgot about Seattle.
We was about 8 deep for Seattle, and that was my first time traveling with some of the people that was on the trip. But we had a great time. Like, we made some memories. So I think you should know like who's your travel friends are, and then who's not, and then from there you should be able to know who you can travel with.
Definitely take the time, like I mentioned, to travel domestically with friends. Get to know them personally. I love traveling domestically with people because it helps you to understand a lot about your friends. You take somebody out of an element of things that they know, you get to really experience the real true person that they are. Also, it might be great for dates. Take a date with somebody outside the city. Get them outside of what they know, the norm, their friends. Get them to be able to connect with you in a different way outside of their element. And it really tells a lot about them.
Right. Well, and another thing, if you can't even get through the weekend with your friend in your home city, then you know they're not travel squad. So,
Yes.
no.
Going to another city versus going to the club, totally different experiences.
Right.
Man, y'all got some great questions. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Another one.
So one of the questions that I have is, when you're in school and you're doing a study abroad program, how do you best leverage that travel that you're doing for school for your personal use?
Good question.
So actually, a cousin of mine did a study abroad program in Italy, which was actually a perfect program for her because, you know, in Europe, you can basically take a train ride through the rest of the continent, or you can take small airplane rides. So she leveraged it by going to basically every big city in Europe that she could. She went to London, Paris. She actually went to Dublin. She went to Florence. She went to Sicily, and I think she went to Amsterdam as well. So basically on the weekends, she went out of town wherever she could. And she also went to Barcelona. So if you're going to try to leverage anything, I would say try to do it on the weekends, but also try to go to a place where you can go to other cities very easily. And Europe, I think, would be the best place to do that. And also take advantage of, you know, the people that you have with you in the program because they're probably trying to travel as well. So if you network with the other students there in the program, I'm sure someone's going to say, hey, I'm going this place this weekend. I'm going here this weekend. And as long as you feel comfortable with them, then you can tag along with them.
Yeah, I think Kiara hit it on the nail. I mean, I don't have any personal experience with studying abroad, but pretty much, like she said, try picking a place that's easier to get to other places. I think you can accomplish a lot, and if you prioritize your time, you know, get your homework done, get all your assignments done during the week, and then you have the weekend to do whatever you want to do. So I think Kiara, she killed it.
Man, and definitely the other point that Kira made was definitely going to a country where you can travel to other places. So, like, when we go over to Europe, some of the things I like doing is riding the train. So, I take that for granted because I live in Texas because basically you can drive 8 hours and still be in Texas. So, basically you're trapped. But most importantly, like, you go to other countries, you get to experience the way of life that they travel. It really opens and broadens your perspective on things. So taking a 2-hour train from Paris to London showed me a lot of the countryside and maybe take for granted, like, the things that I do using, like, not using public transportation. Uber and Lyft, y'all great. I love y'all. But I'm in Texas. When I get to the end of my point, I still got to go somewhere else. But being able to see the countryside and different things kind of opened my horizon to, like, what am I doing with my time? So find a country that you can go to that's like middle of someplace and then go to other countries out there. I mean, once you're on that side of the world, going everywhere else is pretty cheap.
Right.
We
It's
see
easy.
flight deals like for 60 euros going from one country to another. And I'm just like, yo, that's like a $500 jump between something else. So, man, I love it. I love it. We're going to take another question from the studio audience. Don't be shy, y'all.
Hi, I'm Susan. I like to travel too, and I have a few friends. But we've had experiences sometimes where we weren't sure where we wanted to go. So, as experts in this area, what's your recommendation for trying to find when you've got a group? How do you decide where you're going to go?
I know for our group, I mean, we always ask everybody like, hey, what's on the top of your list where you want to go?
Squad life.
Right. So we put that in a pile, but then, I mean, honestly, we really just wait for the flight deals. Like, I mean, we depend on those flight deals. If one don't pop up, then we might just randomly pick a place and then we'll go there. But I mean, I know we rely on flight deals. Even my friends back at home, I mean, I just tell them like, look, we wait for the flight deal to come to us, and then that's where we're gonna go. 'Cause a lot of them haven't been anywhere anyway, so it's like they cool with anywhere.
What about for you, Snack Attack?
Well, like Brandon said, what we generally do is wait for the deal to pop up. Or for myself, I know Brian and Brandon as well, we have a list of places we want to go to, and generally the places I have on my list are somewhere on their list as well. So when the deal comes along, we're already on board to go to those places. So that's generally what we do. What about you, Brian?
Ooh, like you said, I have the list, but most importantly, I look at stuff. But sometimes I'll actually go on Google Flights and set up flight like trackers for like different dates and say, hey, you know, if the deal drops below this threshold, then I might buy the ticket. But for the most part, I'm looking at whatever the flight deals are. But sometimes I get inspired. You know, if you ever taken the time to just throw a dart on a map and say, hey, let me see what I can go there. Because I feel like sometimes we go to all the same places, but the world is so vast. There's so much you learn from other cultures, other places. And if you limit yourself to saying, hey, these are the places that I want to go, then you don't really get to experience the world. So I'm really trying to figure out other places that I might be able to travel to and might be able to see. And that way I can use that as a place of inspiration to go. Because flight deals happen all the time. Now, we try to do our best in Driftr Travels to be able to showcase to you all the different places that you can go for lower price. I mean, I've seen deals from like London to US for like $400 round trip. I've seen stuff to India, $500 round trip. China for $700 round trip. I mean, those tickets right there are $1,500. But I mean, think about it also in the ways of I can hop to another place once I get over the other side of the world. I mean, think about how cheap it is for you to, for instance, travel to New Orleans from Texas. Or think about how cheap it is for you to go from Seattle to California. When you're on the other side of the country, I mean, those countries are so small that they're connected to each other. You can really be able to travel as much as you want. So it's keeping a fluid approach to how you look at travel. But most importantly, identify with the group. What is your top 5? I know in the travel squad, we always say, hey, here's some places that we want to go. So we might list our top 5. Somebody lists else their top 5. Somebody else listed their top 5. And we look and say, what's in the top 5 that we have shared in common? That's how we pick. This has been some great questions. I thank y'all so much for my live studio audience from just kind of sharing these places and things that you want to go to. So now we're going to roll into the next segment of our show, which is one of my favorite parts of the show. Where we talk about cards and points.
Get those points.
Our goal is for the cards and points segment is to teach you how you can use credit cards responsibly, but most importantly, how you can use it to be able to travel for free. So we want you to be able to take trips at the least cost possible. And so with that, we're going to begin our show today talking specifically about a credit card that we want you to be able to utilize. And that credit card for today is going to be the American Express Premier Rewards Gold Card.
Back to the Amex side.
Back to the Amex. Y'all know I'm an Amex pusher,
Right.
so I love Amex credit cards.
Let me get my notepad.
Hold up. Time to break down some knowledge. So, I use the American Express Premier Rewards Gold Card. It's one of my favorite cards. And there's a couple reasons why. But let me talk to you a little bit about the benefits of the card and how you can utilize it as a strategy for you to be able to take in free flights. So, there's a couple different bonus categories that I like to maximize on the American Express Rewards Gold Card. The first thing is that you get 3x points on flights. Now, if you remember, 2 episodes ago, I talked about the American Express Platinum card. You get 5x points on flights, but that wasn't always the case. This changed in the last year in response to competition from the Chase Sapphire Chase Sapphire Reserve card. So previously before, the American Express Rewards Gold card was my place to go and buy flights. But I already had the American Express Platinum card, which all of a sudden gave me 5x points. So if you don't have the American Express Platinum card, because the annual fee is a little bit high, even amongst all the credit cards in the industry, this is a card you can get 3x points on. Secondly, this is my card that I use to go when I go to restaurants, gas stations, or supermarkets. So you get 2x points on restaurants and gas stations and U.S. supermarkets. There's no other limits to it. So if you whatever you use when you go to the grocery store, you go to restaurants and gas stations, please use that card. Now, remember, this is also a charge card. So that means that at the end of the month, you're liable for all the charges on the card. So it means you only want to put on stuff on this card that you can use to pay off at the end of the month. And this is what I use for my everyday card. I like it because I get no interest rates, and I pay off immediately what I have and I owe. I use my American Express Platinum card to pay off my monthly bills. So things like mortgage, cell phone bill, and such like that. But when it comes to everyday spending, this is the card that I work on. Now, the annual fee for this card is $175, but you get a $100 airline fee credit. So that means every year I can use up to $100 to pay for things like baggage, drinks on the plane, upgrade fees. So it basically brings down the whole card annual fee to $75. Now, like the Platinum card, it also has access to the hotel collection. Get 2x membership rewards points spent on every dollar. If you stay more than 2 nights, you get a $75 credit in a hotel spend. Now, what does that mean? You can do things like go to the spa or dining or restaurant activities. So if I was to use the card for the $100 airline credit, plus I go take a 2-day vacation somewhere and get the $75 hotel credit, I basically met the cost of my annual fee, which means everything else after that is bonus points for the card. And this is why I use the card for everyday spending, because I don't have the Amex Everyday card. You get no foreign transaction fees. You get the membership reward points. You get also baggage insurance, global assist hotline, secondary car rental insurance, premium roadside assistance, and double membership rewards points when you book on Amex Travel. So these are the few reasons why I use the card for my spending, mostly because it's restaurants, gas stations, supermarkets. So every time you catch me at Exxon, Shell, or Chevron, every time you catch me in a restaurant, or what I found out early on back in Seattle was that when you go to a bar and your friends want to buy drinks, and I say, hey, I'll buy the drinks if you pay me the money. Wow, I got 2x points on that. So remember that bar we went to, Brandon?
Right.
When I was buying all the drinks? It wasn't for you, it was for me. So Brandon will talk about what different types of offers they have for this card. Right now, if I remember correctly, they don't have an offer. Is that right, Brandon?
Yeah, it look like there's not an offer on the card, but I know. So I used to have this card, and you sent me a referral for it. So
Referral points matter,
right? So check with the Driftr travel community. Check with your friends if they have this card. When he sent me the referral, I got 30,000 points if I spent 3,000 in the first 3 months, I believe, and I used all those points. So please check for referrals, and you can also check on Google, see if there's any recent bonus rewards for it, and then check creditcards.com or what's the one that's in your Target offers?
Cardmatch.com.
Yeah, that's what it is. Cardmatch.com. If you check there, they will send you targeted offers for different cards. So look into that.
Awesome.
So I have a question. So I know you're a Mr. Amex guy. So when you get the Chase Sapphire Reserve, are you going to use that every day versus the American Express card?
Good question. So for me, if I get the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, I'm not going to probably use this card as much because you get 3x on travel and restaurants and dining. So this card might lower, and I might actually try to change it to another card. So.
Okay.
Right. That's what I did. So with this card, I no longer have it because I canceled it. I used it for the year, but it wasn't my go-to card, so I didn't need it anymore. I didn't want to pay the annual fee again.
Mm-hmm.
So I canceled the card, and I'm back to my Sapphire Preferred card, which is my everyday card.
Okay.
So I think with credit cards, you just have to know, you have to strategize and responsibly use your cards.
Right.
And then some cards you're not going to have. You're going to have one or two go-to cards so you can maximize your points.
Right. But I actually think this is a good card to have if you're not trying to pay the $450 annual fee because, like Brian said, it's $175. So you
Oh,
get
yeah.
the $100 credit back, so you're at 75. And if you stay at a hotel 2 nights, then you make the $75 back. So you're
Right.
making your money back very, very easily. But at the same time, you're getting 2 times points on the airlines and on the restaurants, correct? So you're definitely, that's probably a really good card to have when you're not trying to pay.
It's
the annual
definitely a
fee.
good card,
Yeah.
especially if you new to the game or you just need a go-to card and you haven't got like the Chase Prefer or the Reserve. I mean, the Amex Gold is pretty good.
Yeah, and I prefer charge cards over credit cards anyway. So I want to make sure that whatever I'm spending for that month, I know I'm on the hook for paying that, 25 days
Right.
later. So I actually prefer charge cards over credit cards because I just want to pay my bill off every
Right.
month.
Don't get caught up. Don't get caught up.
Pay your bills, y'all.
Right.
Don't be delinquent on bills.
Please.
Remember the golden rule of credit cards in the travel game. You don't want to carry a balance. So the goal is to pay off the card. Don't pay interest because once you pay interest, you've ruined all the points that you get.
Right.
Yeah.
We preach credit cards, but please
Yes.
spend responsibly.
Yes. So, and like I've mentioned before, what I've done and what I suggest to everyone when you're first starting out with multiple credit cards or just trying to, not keep a balance on your card, I pay my cards every Friday. So I know on Fridays I need to pay my card off. So if on Fridays, you have a bill due or credit card bill due, it's like a debit card. Like I know I have to have this much money in my account. So I highly suggest everybody kind of like pick a day where you pay your credit card every single week and then you don't keep a balance on there.
Pay your bills, y'all.
Yes.
All right. Now that we've talked about different credit cards that you can use, and specifically the American Express Premier Rewards Gold Card, we're not going to take a trip. We're going to go to somewhere in the country, somewhere out the country, somewhere hopefully that you haven't been able to experience before. So, Kier, where are we going to today?
So, guys, we're going back to Europe today, and we're going to Berlin, Germany. And just a quick notes on Berlin, Germany. So the country code for the airport in Berlin is BER. And besides the major American liners that go to Berlin, you can also take some other airlines such as Lufthansa, WOW, Aer Lingus, British Airways. So what we want you to do when you use Lufthansa or Aer Lingus or British Airways is, maximize your points with the airline partner programs, your Star Alliance, your One World. So just keep these in mind when you're using Google Flights. Just so you know, in Berlin, they use the euro for their currency. So right now, $1 to €1 is equal to 0.85 of euro. So right now, our dollar has been strong, so we get a little bit more for our money than we normally did a couple of years ago. But, the euro is going to be a little bit stronger. So just plan ahead for that. And if you're looking for a few things to do in Berlin, one big thing that I've always wanted to do, and I remember this as a little girl, is, the Berlin Wall was up for a long time and it came down like in the late 80s. But you can take several different types of Berlin Wall tours. So they have different types of tours that you can take. You can actually take a walking tour, a bike tour. They actually have a graffiti tour. So a lot of artists have gone out and sprayed graffiti on the wall. So you can go out and see that as well. But also part of the wall is still up. And you can go and see that part of the wall that's still up, but you can also buy a piece of the wall. So I remember seeing a piece of the wall. We had a teacher back in the day that, she went to Berlin to go visit, and she actually brought a nice chunk of the wall back. So if I ever go out there, I would definitely want to see the wall, and I definitely want to bring a piece of the wall back home. If you are into parks and gardens, apparently there's over 2,500 different parks and gardens in Berlin. So you have plenty of options, but one particular park that stood out for me is the Tiergarten. So in the Tiergarten, there are different monuments, buildings, and memorials, and there's also a Holocaust museum there, so you can check that out. That would be something on my list. And if you want to see something more modern, you can go to an area called the Potsdamer Platz, which is basically a square in the city with modern skyscrapers, offices, stores, cinemas, restaurants, etc., etc. And a few famous architects have gone to that area and actually designed buildings in that area. So if you want to see something new and see the hustle and bustle of Berlin, that's the area you want to go to. And then for some people that want to do, go to Germany to try the beer. I love beer. I love craft beer myself. There are several different beer tours that you can take while you're in Berlin. They have different craft beer tours, and they also have different just beer tours that you can take. And if you just Google beer tour or craft beer tours, you can find a list of different types of tours to take. And those tours generally run about 35 to 40 euros per person, but the tours are like 3 to 4 hours, and with each tour you usually go to like 2 or 3 different breweries, and you also get to try different tastings at each brewery. And what's so cool about these beer tours is they also have walking tours, so you can like walk around and view different breweries, but you can also do night tours, so you can go at night instead of like going out and partying. You could just do a night tour of the breweries. But they also have a bike tour, so I think it'd be pretty cool to like ride around Berlin on a bike and then stop at a brewery, try an Almi Gang or something like that, or ale, and then just get back on your bike and go somewhere else. And then just remember that on these beer tours you can learn the history of beer, and you can also visit local breweries out there. So that's all I have for Berlin. And Brian, you've been there recently. How do you like it?
Went back in October. Beer with soda, never realized how good that stuff was. Like, it definitely changed my life. I came back to America, like, putting beer in my soda, and people were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm German. Back off,
it's
bro.
called Ridley beer or something like that. I was looking it up.
It was a little bit, but it was like a mix of all kind of things. Like, I had all kinds of different beers, like beers with like Coca-Cola, beers with like orange soda, beers with orange soda, bro. Changed his life. Like, I'm already thinking about Keenan and Kel from like all that, but like beers with orange soda.
What?
Look,
No.
Snack Attack.
Is it lit,
I'm
though?
telling you,
It's lit.
Not doing it.
y'all know. I'm trying to tell you. Go to Germany. Go to Berlin, especially turn up in Berlin. The clubs in Berlin. We polka.
I can only imagine. I haven't been to Berlin. I went to Frankfurt though, so
Okay.
I have a taste of Germany.
Frankfurt was cool. We did a couple days in Frankfurt, but
Right.
Berlin.
It's better.
It was 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like, am I in Texas? I'm in New York, or am I in Berlin? I didn't know the difference. Like, the clubs and the scene, but just the energy of the country. Like, there were a couple of expats that I met there, and they told me interesting experiences about their assimilation into the culture, but most importantly, like, be able to create businesses there. And they were like trying to convince us to move. We almost ended up like saying, all right, as a group, all 5 of us are going to move to Germany. And I was just like, well, I got obligations back at home, so I'm out. But 5 years from now, who knows?
Maybe.
You never know.
YOLO.
Travel Squad might go, and Travel Squad might say, you know what, we're going to stay and build operations here. So Drifter Travels podcast might come from Berlin, Germany.
Hey.
How many days did you spend there?
I think I spent like 5 days there.
Okay.
So it was a good little time. I learned a lot about the country, too.
And it's
though.
a very clean city, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay.
I did bring me back a piece of the Berlin Wall.
You
though.
did.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That's
And
dope.
I got my stamp at Checkpoint Charlie. So on my passport, I have a stamp from Checkpoint Charlie. No, nobody else on my trip did that. So I was like, sorry for y'all. But for me, I'm going to get the stamp. So
Interesting.
all about the stamps, y'all. Get your
Oh, yeah.
passport stamps.
Yeah, I've never been to Germany. I took a train through there when I went to Amsterdam, but I didn't stop there. So I'll definitely have to check that out when I get back to Europe.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening in for another episode of the Drifter Podcast. It's been amazing. It's been great to have a live studio audience. It's been definitely a pleasure sharing my birthday with y'all, being able to talk about travel and different things. But most importantly, we're trying to give you inspiration and advice on how you can travel, but also, most importantly, travel for cheap, because we want you to be able to explore the world, get the education, learn from the culture, but most importantly, we want you to grow as people. So if you enjoyed the podcast, please visit us on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, TuneIn. What else am I missing?
Stitcher
Stitcher Radio. Most importantly, go to our website,
Right.
driftertravels.com. You can listen to the podcast online. So that way you can tune in and get all the kind of tips and trips. If you haven't already, join our Slack community, driftertravels.com/Slack. We want to hear from you, the questions that you have. Join in all of our channels. We talk about things about cards and points. Talk about places you want to go, airline experiences. Most importantly, we just want to hear from you. So until the next time, it's been a fun episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, live studio audience. Appreciate all your questions.
Thank y'all so much.
Right.
Go studio audience.
Thank y'all.
I have to come back to Texas soon. You guys have been great hosts. Thank you.
Snack Attack is enjoying her time in Texas,
Oh, yeah,
but she's
she's
gonna tell you that
so-
I've been trying to starve her to death, and she been lying because I ain't do that. I feed people, okay? Don't believe that.
We're
got
going
food
to
in
get
my
you your
pantry.
Mexican food,
I'm
Kiara.
gonna
I
give you a
promise.
side eye on that, Brian.
Okay. It's been a great episode of the Driftr Podcast. This has been your co-host, Brian Fontenot.
Brandon Boone.
And Kiara Sandoval.
Peace.
Peace.
Brandon said peace on the
Oh,
outro.
yeah.
Hold on, we
Feeling
gotta
good
record
today.
this, man.